throwing fists, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting a fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Try to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That's church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, can I describe it? Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. At every bar, even though my bar has been the hardest. The scars on my face, and I ain't always been the smartest. But I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my...
The type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people. I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm liking to Mike Tyson. I'm a bison, a beast. I'm high like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old, out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yeah, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant. Tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retrofit. I guess I'll lit, I guess I'll bitch, now let's go.
Show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody...
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday. Hanging with the boys. So excited. Obviously got an extra face here this evening. Good boy, Pinky told you is coming this week. We got some conversations to have. Obviously, they're related, so you can take that for what it's worth. But Andy, how you doing, my guy?
Hey, not doing bad. How about you guys?
Doing lovely. Appreciate you hanging with us this evening. Pinky, Robert, always a pleasure. How you boys doing?
Hanging in there, man. Just hanging in there.
Oh, boy. I feel like I need my hat. I'll put my hat on.
That's how he's starting the... Okay,
That's how he started.
Wow. That's... A lot of energy coming from Pinky tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Get prepared.
Yeah, sorry,
he's
I am.
At you.
He needed that.
Hold on. I will bring up the energy.
He froze.
He needed something.
I just needed my hat. It just didn't feel right. Andy said he wouldn't come on the show unless I wore my Chiefs jersey. So I was like, okay, I'll wear it. It's fine. But I just needed my hat.
Just ask you how you're doing, and we get a.
I need my
hat. Nope, I need my hat. Like, all right.
That's a pinky way to start it. That's a pinky way to start it.
So, cheers.
This is Pinky's week, okay? This is my week.
I mean, we're excited for you, but your week, let's just.
I get a week.
Come on, hang on a second.
I get a whole week. It's fine.
This guy's just thrown it in our face that he's better than us. Golly. Talking about getting upgrades at his hotel and
I
got all this money to
for
spend on gambling. What should I play just to make sure I win at your game and then can rub that in your face as well? It's just nonstop with this guy.
It's what I do, Caleb.
Pinky's just feeling like a high roller lately.
As he should. I mean, let's be honest. He has every right to feel as such this week. So 100%. I'm definitely not going to hate
100%.
I realized my wife actually, we were talking and she's like, we're going to go down to the casino floor on Saturday at Bellagio and we're going to see all the players and people playing on the casino floor. And then she's really excited. We're going to see some high price escorts. I was like, yeah.
I don't know about ones. The players. If you're seeing players on the casino floor Saturday night, you need to instantly then go put money on the team that those players are not on because that spells OBJ yacht instantly.
Well, no. Kansas City players and 49ers players will not be there.
Okay.
But all the other players that are there
You're talking about
weekend,
the retired, the ones that aren't. Okay, I got you. I see what you're saying. I thought she was like excited to see like Pat Mahomes sitting at the crap table at 1:30 in the morning throwing some die.
Is that Caleb's internet or mine?
I think that's yours.
Caleb was freezing up there for a sec.
Yeah. And do you guys see it too? Does it look like Pinky's right eyebrow is like slanted like this? So it looks like he's wasted.
It's the hat.
So are we saying it's
big.
Pinky's internet or are we saying it's Caleb's internet?
I vote it's Pinky's.
Okay.
I say
because I don't have any
everybody's
problem
coming
with
through.
you. It's just Pinky that's having problems.
Yeah, he's got that dial-up still.
All right. He's coming in blurry. He's a little blurry right now. A little out of focus. This guy.
He's got to figure that out, man.
You want unprofessionalism, you make sure Pinky's a part of your broadcast. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, seriously. And he's asking me if I got everything ready to go. I'm like, of course.
Coming from the guy who everybody complains about my audio, and I cannot fix it at this moment in time, so I apologize ahead of time, guys. Just hopefully you can deal with it. Sorry.
I haven't heard your
I'm
audio
working on it. I just can't deal with it right now.
From listening to all the episodes, I haven't heard your audio being anything. Pinky's solo episode had it was hard to hear him, but that was about it.
Pinky, I love you, man. You always hold it down for us. Is he back, ladies and gentlemen? Let's see what he can do. Slowly but surely. Oh, hey, this guy.
All right, carry on.
Well, is there any nonsense? Because we're gonna have some nonsense with some of these conversations coming up. But like, is there anything that you want to discuss? And before you do, I will throw out there. If you're not familiar with what we're talking about the last 5 minutes or so, Pinky is going to the Super Bowl. He's going to be treated like a VIP basically and getting to go to some behind the scenes meet and greets and things of that nature. It's well deserved. So that's why that conversation was happening. My man leaves in a day and a half, basically, to head out there. And we are looking forward to hearing his experience next week. So
I touch down at 4:00 tomorrow. It'll be Viva Las Vegas, baby.
I was thinking it was Thursday, not Wednesday. So yeah, I love it. So more power to you, Pinky. We can't wait to hear about it. I know you'll be giving us updates and stuff when you're out there. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We'll share his experience with us.
I haven't been to Vegas since the last time I was in Vegas was 2 years ago with Andy at the NFL draft.
That was
So
good.
it's been a little while since I've gone to Vegas. And when we went, I didn't do any gambling. And we were tired. Those are long days. The draft are long days.
Oh, I was stupid and I wore my toe shoes because I was like, oh, I'll be fine. And I forgot we're on cement the whole fucking time. Like, yeah, it was bad. Oh, yeah, I gotta watch the F-bomb.
Gross. Gross. That would be.
We're not a family show, Andy. It's fine.
Oh, we can? Okay, cool.
Yeah, kids aren't watching us. And if they are, they have bad parents.
Or just parents who are willing to explain things to their children and understand that they want their children to get quality information.
I think my kids are watching right now. They're like, oh, Dad, you're going to go on. Oh, we'll watch.
It's not like you're saying anything that they don't hear daily, though. Like, so hey, teach their own.
They knew.
Teach their own. If you raise kind, thoughtful people, I could care less what's coming out of their mouths as far as how their conversation is held.
I can't wait to hear Caleb's son be like, Dad, I fucking love you so fucking much.
If you use it properly and it's within context and the right emotion, to me, it shows more intelligence than it does anything else. So
Caleb's like, it's first grade graduation. Good job, son.
I'm just going to say something and be like, does he have A's? Does he have A's? Okay,
right,
well, what are we talking about here? Like, what are we worried about?
What's going on?
Does he help? Is he holding the door open for kids? Is he looking out for everybody? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, I don't care. I don't want to hear it.
He's like, Dad, did you see that fucking cripple fall? Shit, I got this shit. Caleb's like, that's my boy. You get that fucking cripple.
I might know people who would talk like that, but that's not Dad. Dad wouldn't.
Not Dad.
Now don't throw the F-bomb, but he's not going to say the second part of that. Let's
just
be clear.
say Crips.
Yeah. I follow the South Park rules, Andy.
Those are good.
There you go.
So, moving along, we will will start jumping into some stuff here. So, where are we heading first, Pinky? I know you kind of had an order you wanted to roll through tonight, so I will allow you to.
That's all on Robert, bro.
Robert,
Yeah.
Robert. Then.
So we're gonna, with our guest Andy being here, we're gonna have him just talk about his fandom a little bit and kind of get to know what Andy's about here. Since it's been a while, just get to know Andy.
It's been a little while since we've had Andy on the show, so let's give guys a little refresher now that we've got some different viewers that jump on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got to defend myself too, because there's been some comments about me being the worst Chiefs fan of all time. So I'll go over
those were not our words.
Those are my words.
Well, you might have said something to that effect.
I said what I said.
You might have.
But yeah, I'll go over all of it. I got into sports at a young age, loved it, started playing soccer and baseball from a very young age, and then just kept going. Couldn't play football until high school because my parents were like, oh, he'll break his bones and he'll grow all weird. So they waited till high school. Then I played basketball, and I felt like I was amazing because I played basketball at a Catholic school. And I realized talent levels at Catholic schools in Colorado Springs is very different.
No.
So I was scoring like in 8th grade, I was scoring like 40 points a game, feeling like the man. And then I go to Coronado, guaranteed I was going to make the team. I got cut, dude. I didn't make shit. All 4 years I tried out because I was a tryhard. Never once made the team, dude. It was bad. Football, they're like, oh, what would you like to play? And I'm like, oh, my favorite player is Barry Sanders. So I always liked the Lions. And I tried to be a running back. No, I had to realize really quick I was white. So I could run fast for 3 steps, and then that was it. After that, I was not as fast as everyone else. So I went to defense. I played offensive line for a season. Then I was defensive end, and I just never could give it up. I got a chance to go to Moorhead, Division II college, and I got to play there for a little bit. But then I had a kid, and I had to quit that and leave. So it was very, very short-lived, but it was a lot of fun. So I got to try it for a little bit at a lower collegiate level, and it was fun. So that's like my experience base, and I got to play baseball throughout high school. I didn't play soccer just because football and baseball took most of it. So I was a catcher. So I loved it. So I love sports to death. I'm catching up with you guys on your knowledge. I definitely do not know the NFL as well as you guys do. I know a lot about the game, but I don't know a lot about the actual like NFL and NBA and all that stuff.
Hey, you've got the X's and O's knowledge, my friend.
I agree. I do like chopping up that strategy level with you that I'm not familiar with because I didn't play at that high of a level.
I enjoy it. Yeah, and I've got to coach forever. I got blessed. I got to coach my sons all the way up to high school, a little bit in high school too. So that was awesome. So I got to see a lot of different levels. Fandom, it came with simple. We lived in Atlanta. So I used to be a Falcons fan. So they're my 3rd favorite team is the Falcons. Lions are 2nd because of Barry Sanders. But when I actually started watching football to enjoy it was in Kansas City when we lived in the Missouri side. And my grandpa was huge for the Chiefs. My dad roots for the team wherever we live. So he used to be the only team he likes overall is Philly. Like he always roots for Philadelphia all the time, but everything else, wherever he lives is what he roots for. So we're there. He's a big Chiefs fan, but we used to all watch the games, and that was huge to my dad. 3 generations of Tiltons like watching the game. So I learned, and we were good then. So the defense, good, but our defense was great. So watching Neil Smith before he made bad choices was awesome. Derek Thomas in his prime, but it was. So we got to see a lot of great football, and that's when I fell in love with the Chiefs. Then we moved to Colorado Springs, and I had no clue. And then I just got shit on forever because everybody's like, Chiefs suck. And we got smashed by the Broncos for years. Everything I went to in high school, college was just like, fuck Chiefs, fuck Chiefs. So the fact that we're good now, man, I've been a fan for years and years where the Chiefs just were horrible, and we just got punked by everybody. I mean, I remember Pinky even being kind enough, like, hey, maybe you'll win 3 games this year. And he'd be like, and he was right. He nailed it all the time. I was like the Todd Haley years,
Eric Fisher, baby
years, the King Carl when he was our GM. Like, so I've been a fan for a very long time. So that's why I look at the Chiefs very differently than most people. So with us winning now, I'm like, that's awesome. But what are we doing to solidify ourselves? Like, I don't want to win, a couple of Super Bowls, then become irrelevant. Like we went through 50 years of not winning anything. Tony Gonzalez played for us for 16 years and never won a playoff game. That's horrible. A Hall of Fame player never got a playoff win with us. So that's where I'm like, dude, we've got to capitalize. We can't just take it and be like, yay, we've got Mahomes and Andy Reid. We've got to do more. So that's where I'm like, we passed on DK Metcalf. I lost my fucking mind. When we passed on Jonathan Edwards, or was it, no, is it Jonathan Edwards? I forgot his name. David Montgomery and who's the running back we passed on for CEH?
Jonathan Taylor,
yeah. So I was screaming their names. So that's the thing. So I hope we start making better choices. Our failures at wide receiver have been just horrendous, but we got lucky on Rashee Rice. So thank God for that. Or does he look good because everybody else looks shitty? You know, when you play next to MVS, Kadarius Toney, and McCole Hardman, you're going to look pretty awesome. So
Rice looks legit.
Yeah,
Rice looks good.
So I like him. But then backups. Remember when we tried to draft Kelsey's backup, Tony Moyaki, all the other guys we brought in that went to nothing. But then we passed on Noah Fant, and then we passed on Albert O. We passed on Isaiah Likely. And these are all guys' names. Pinky can tell you I was screaming before the draft, like, we have to get him. And then we're like, oh, we'll go out and get Jake Bell. And I'm like, who the fuck's Jake Bell? Like, Jesus Christ. So that's it. So that's where I hold the Chiefs to a very high standard, because I'm like, dude, we can't just get here and then screw it off, because, man, there were Chiefs fans that died in that 50 years that never saw us win. Like, they died knowing we never got good. So now that we are, I'm like, dude, we got to hold on to it. So when we play poorly and I can see it, you know, a guy as low level as I am, I'm like, dude, this is not good. And Pinky's seen it before games. We're like, we've got to do this, and we don't. Then we lose. And I'm like, man, if we don't come back, then it's over. So that's where I'm a little bit critical on the Chiefs. I always will be, because, like, Caleb, I understand, like, when you talk about the Broncos, I get it. Like, I know you don't hate on the Broncos. Like, I know they're all giving you shit because Pinky's like, I'm going to masturbate tonight to John Elway, and you're ruining it, Caleb, because you keep saying all this shit. And I
Terrell Davis.
So that's the thing. So you've ruined that for him. That poster he has of Elway, he can't look at anymore. So that's what I'm trying to say is
amazing.
I get it, dude. So sorry. Yeah, I'll keep it PG. That's my bad.
Ah, you're good. So this would be my critique of your fandom. You have not allowed yourself to even fully enjoy the Super Bowl wins because you've had critical comments with the way they played during the game, regardless of the outcome. So while I understand exactly where you're coming from during the run and the regular season and stuff, I've even said, if the Broncos go in the Super Bowl, I'm going to be eating a bunch of crow and I'll be happy about it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit there and be like, I mean, yeah, but we could have easily had another 50 yards rushing, and, like, that did not happen. So, like, I'm worried about next year. Like, Andy, shut it. Who cares about next year? You guys got your ring, baby. You got your ring, baby.
That's the coach in me, right? Like, I've got to coach a couple of teams, like, multiple years, and you always are growing, and you realize, like, that development of one season, like, you don't ever want to be the coach that's remembered for one season, right? You don't want to have one year where you're good. You're always looking to develop. So for me, once you've done it, you're already on to the next game. So I can't sit here and lament in it. You know, I can't sit there and be like, you know, just enjoying the moment too much, because I'm already thinking.
Yeah, but part of I think you need to give yourself a little bit of a grace, even as the coach, because I've done my fair share of coaching on the basketball side. So I understand that thought process. But I've always said, if you're not giving yourself a minimum 30 days to enjoy and celebrate and not worry about anything in the future, it only helps the future, because then you come in being able to have a fresh outlook on the new season. Yeah. It's almost like you didn't grieve. Like, if you don't grieve and you just move forward, at some point in time, that's going to hit you and it's going to hurt worse than had you dealt with it from the beginning.
Correct. Yeah,
I think the joy and celebration is the same way, and people don't necessarily think about it that way and give themselves that time to process those emotions as well.
Agreed. Completely. And I grieved Jamal Charles until he signed with the Broncos.
And then
I don't know why
you wasted him.
Same thing with Derek Johnson. I grieved Derek Johnson. He signed with the Raiders. You know, but like,
I mean, but Jamal was done.
He was.
He was done. Unfortunately,
He just got more money from the Broncos.
Yeah. You should be happy for him, because your rival, if you will, decided to waste money on him, but he was able to con them for that couple extra years of career.
Well, you guys heard it when he talked trash about the Chiefs on his way out, because the Chiefs were like, hey, you've been hurt. We don't want to risk your knee. And he's like, no, screw you guys. You don't believe in me. And he was very negative when he went out.
Unfortunately, the business thing is hard to separate for a lot of people from the loyalty team aspect of the the league. So it becomes this dichotomy of epic proportions.
But we also know that you have to protect players from themselves in most cases, which is what the Chiefs were trying to do. And he was like, no, I can still play. And then he figured out, not really, he can't really play. So
you know what the worst thing is I never knew about Jamal Charles, and I feel really dumb for this, is Darren had to tell me this the other day. I didn't know he was in the Special Olympics because of learning disabilities. So he's severely disabled when it comes to learning. Now, I never noticed that when he played. I thought his play was awesome. And it doesn't speak anything negative of him. I think he's great. But I didn't know he was such an advocate for that. And he competed in the Special Olympics. I'm like, that's so unfair. Jamal Charles is like amazingly gifted. And I'm like, imagine some other kids like, throw him down. And like, he just runs right by. I'm like, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, he
like a horrible Chiefs fan. I look at everyone as equal.
It's one of those things though where, you know, everybody has it. Sometimes people with some disabilities are able to discover that quicker. Everybody's got their niche and their specialty. It's not easy to be able to read plays and understand an offense, especially at the NFL level, and the way that verbiage and cadence is.
Yeah.
So
and he nailed it.
It takes a special mind to be able to truly understand that at the level Jamal Charles did, because when you look at how special of a runner he is, it told you not only did he understand the play, he understands what to do if the play breaks down.
Oh, and how to attack the defense.
Exactly.
So how do you explain Kadarius Toney?
A talented dude with a giant ego and hands of rock.
Yeah. And lines up offsides.
He needs to get some moisturizer on those hands. He needs to get them going. I will say, Andy being my brother, my best friend.
Father? I believe this says father. So,
It says father there.
Pinky's
Baja.
maybe Pinky's maybe Pinky's ego he is, maybe. It's possible. But I will say, it's like he's very encouraging to the Broncos. He's always saying nice things. It's hard to hate the Chiefs with Andy around. I go to the Chiefs game in Arrowhead, and they're all very nice to me as I'm wearing Broncos stuff. We've had some really good experiences. So my hate for the Chiefs has gone away. I just don't want them to win. And we'll talk more about that. But Andy's a very gracious Chiefs fan. So
yeah, I love my team, and I always will. But even in the horrible years, I rep my team every day. I love them. You know, like that. That's the thing. Like, good or bad, I'm a Chiefs fan. Like, that's okay. I love what the team represents, and I'll always go for it since
we always have the pre-Mahomes era. We'll always remember. We'll always remember the pre-Mahomes era.
And how long it was. So, yeah, that's where – but that's the point. Like, I love it. I like football. So that's why – do I hate on the Broncos? No. I have no beef with them. That's like when Pinky was hoping the Broncos would be great.
What's up,
I hope they would too.
Hello.
Oh,
he brought me a spare beer because he took one
too. What a sweetheart! All right, we're gonna talk plenty of Chiefs. I
think
that's enough.
Robert, your new job is to move us along when we're going too long, buddy.
All right, you got it. So now
unless I say quiet, and I'm gonna continue, and then we're just gonna continue.
So the big topic from last week that we had really hyped up with Andy being here is Caleb has some interesting points to go over with the big nerd god that is Andy for Anakin versus Superman. So we put a poll out there a while ago. If you weren't here, a lot of people said that Superman would trump Anakin. So,
and just as the quick reminder, it basically just it was a group chat. We were talking, and I believe Caleb said like he didn't care about Superman or was kind of just about Superman.
Let's set clean level here, like equal playing field. I said I believe based on his history, he's always been OP for me because what he actually deals with and what he actually is capable of just never like yeah, I think Lex Luthor is a great villain, but he's like a Joker to Batman. Not, oh, I'm so smart, I'm going to trick Superman constantly. Like, it just makes Superman look like an idiot all the time. That's his main villain that is constantly giving him like it just never worked for me. So that just always like his storylines, and I like the idea of him being Clark Kent and that secret identity living on Earth, but then he's going in and stopping a bridge from falling or an ice sheet from melting. Like, cool. But then all of a sudden, Lex Luthor's trying to take over the world, and he's spinning it back in time. Like, it just never worked for me. So I said he was OP, and I said basically to the effect, any Jedi of high quality would be able to beat him. Anakin Skywalker would smoke him. That's what I said. And I believe it. I do. So if we're talking about a straight up fight, and they know they're fighting each other, I'm having a hard time seeing how Superman would be able to beat Anakin. So
please school this bitch, Andy.
Oh no, like no, I get it, and I think defining the parameters of the fight is awesome. There's a lot of deep nerd levels to this, right? Like, so Superman gets power from a yellow sun. The kryptonite sun, or the sun on Krypton, created so much gravity that it made their body stronger and tougher, and it made it so none of the Kryptonians could fly. That's why they made all the machines. So they sent him to a planet where they thought his body would interact with the sun. They didn't know exactly that the yellow sun would give him so much, and a red sun doubles his power. He goes rage, though, so he goes even more so. So in a world where, again, we would say it's a yellow sun, again, super fucking nerd. Like, this is where Pinky and I were joking earlier. It's like, you guys can now know why I have not had a lot of sex. Okay, like, we'll just get that out in the open. Like, this is not I don't want anyone sitting there and being like, well, that Andy guy, he may have got around. No, crush those rumors right now. It never happened. So in a world, yellow sun, proximity to the sun is what gives him his power. Okay, so the closer he is, so if they fight on a spaceship, he would have even more power. But let's say, like you said, he's fighting on planet side. He's on the ground. So Anakin has amazing abilities, but even Anakin, at the height of his powers, lost to Obi-Wan. Why? Well, he had the high ground, right? So if we're going off of what we're using for our information is the movies, right? Because that's the time where we saw them fight.
I'm not going on just the movies. I'm going on all that's available for Anakin Skywalker's history and story.
So what I'm saying is, so the books wrote a lot of stuff about Anakin. You know, he could train rain cores, and he could mind control them, all these cool things, right? So the book's going a totally different way too. But at the very end of his power, before he goes to Vader, so again, when are we Anakin? We'll say pre-Vader. We'll even talk about after Vader. But so pre-Vader, the last fight, you know, what is it on the Mustafar system? I forgot what.
Yep.
So he's fighting there. Anakin beats him. And doesn't just beat him, right? Like, he doesn't like knock him down, he submits. He fucking cuts his legs off and like mutilates him. So Anakin at the height of his power loses Obi-Wan. So even in the Jedi universe, he loses. So then he goes Vader. And even at the height of his power as Vader, he then loses again. So Anakin was never created to be the beginning of all. But the twist was, just like you stated, he was going to bring balance to the Force. So everybody's like, oh, he's going to balance it out and everybody's going to be peaceful. No, it was the yin and yang aspect that George Lucas loves, because he was a big fan of Akira Kurosawa. So all Japanese films are based off of, you know, yin and yang. With a good pull, as strong as the good gets, it leaves way for a stronger evil. And that was the twist, right? Anakin's the evil that actually crushes the good. So you're sitting here like, oh my God, this is this cool story. So Star Wars never created world killers. They didn't create one Jedi that could just, and it's gone. Well, DC nerds, you know, when what is it, Jerry Schuster and Joel Siegel, or I forgot which one it is, but when they created Superman, he literally was completely broken, just like you stated. He didn't even have kryptonite at first. So when they first made him, he had no weaknesses. Then when they started doing the radio things, the broadcasts, no one would listen, no one cared. So they're like, oh, we're going to add kryptonite to make him human. So just like you stated, bad writers have been like, Superman struggles against the mob. Well, there's no way he could struggle against the mob. He moves at supersonic speed and can blow up a city just by flying by it. Also, Superman is so strong, he can clap his hands and blow up everything. The whole planet, he can just take out. And that's the thing where he is broken, because he could shoot lasers, disrupt the core of a planet, and it's over. So Anakin exists in a world where Star Wars, again, he wants that struggle, right? 7 samurai. They're fighting against the odds. They're the last guys there. And that's what he created Jedi to be. The Jedi also, when you pull on the Force, it weakens you. After every movie, you see him like, whoa. Then he's like, even Yoda, who was like supposed to be the highest midichlorian rate until Anakin. But then they throw away all that in the new movies. There's no midichlorians. It's all bullshit. It doesn't matter. It's just in your blood. And you're like, well, shit. Well, then it just matters who is your father, and that determines if you're a Jedi or not. But even in the old movie or the old storylines, Boba Fett kills Jedi. He takes them out. So that was the whole point of why Boba was so cool, because he actually was a threat to Jedi. So that, I think the biggest issue is George Lucas never wanted a world killer. He created all his characters with caps, and he never made the Force. So you never see, Luke, who is the strongest, pull from all the Force in the world, and he becomes like God Luke and destroys everything, because he never wanted that. The whole point was the struggle. Well, DC is a bunch of fucking nerds trying to outdo Marvel. So like, oh, you think your guy's cool? Well, guess what? Superman can clap and blow up the world. What do you think of that, bitch? And then they just keep going and going. So the Anakin problem is there's nothing to it. Force speed accelerates Anakin, but not to the rate where he's going supersonic and breaking sound barriers. So that's the issue. Is the argument becomes you got to bring in another broken level, like let's say Dragon Ball Z, where Gohan does like a Kamehameha and blows up like multiple planets. So you have to bring in somebody at that level that could compete. You need more nerds. Like, Lucas was more worried about story. Hence the reason why Star Wars is a space.
What I'm hearing, Andy, is you're saying Pinky is right. That's all I'm hearing.
All right, here we go. So I believe the first flaw in your argument is believing Anakin is at the height of his powers while he's fighting Obi-Wan. I would argue that's actually on his descent.
Okay.
And I will argue it's actually been on his descent for a slight little bit, and this is why. I believe the height of Anakin's powers is actually during the storyline of The One, where he comes into contact with, who draws him in on purpose, the creator of all the universes, and basically tells Anakin, you are who I choose to take over for me. Not my son, not my daughter, you. And your powers are beyond understanding. You will have to learn to feel them and control them, basically, he tells him. To the point where, by the end of that storyline, Anakin handled business and controlled everyone. Basically stopped time and can control everything at a whim if he chose to. He then immediately gave up those powers because he couldn't handle leaving all his loved ones behind, his fatal flaw. So he was at the very height, and then from that moment started to descend, because The One showed him what would happen with his story if he turned down that offer, which is he would become Vader and so on and so forth. So if we're talking about Anakin at the height of his powers, it's that.
Yeah.
Now, at that height of his powers, again, we're talking about these two dudes knowing they're in a battle.
Yep.
Anything Superman does, Anakin would be literally able to use the Force and stop. His speed, his laser eyes, his clap, Anakin would be able to literally control all of that.
Yeah. But that's based on that Anakin can react to it. So every time the Force is used, it's not subconscious. Every time you see the Force used, there's emotion. There's a hand. So you never see Force choke with Vader just sitting there like, you always see the hand come up. You always see some sign. Even when they Force push, the hands come up. There's a physical gesture that does it. Superman can move at such a rate that you won't even see it. Anakin would only see a guy standing still, and then it would explode. Before he could react, just like a Jedi, if he's sleeping, he can't use any powers. There's no defense to it. He's dead. Hence the reason why they talk
I understand what you're saying, but then you're stating that the Force relies on sight and not feel.
Well, he would.
So at what point is Anakin? Can Superman get to Anakin before he can feel and handle something?
He doesn't have to. He could be. I mean, it could be anything. So let's say they fought 100 yards out, right? Anakin could easily see him, could see every motion and every movement, but he couldn't react fast enough. The problem is the Force is a reaction, but before he could react, it would be over. But
that's Anakin, where I guess that's where we disagree, because I don't believe it's a reaction. I believe it's a feel. So if you're in that situation already, and you're already, if you instantly have a feeling, well, okay, I'll give it to you in the fact that you have to react on the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But that's made like that, just like Superman would decide to come at you like that.
No, but Superman can move faster than anything he's ever felt.
Yeah, because again,
nah.
this is the thing where it's broken. Star Wars is based off of creating those feelings of like maybe Anakin could win, maybe Obi could win. But the problem with the DC world is they don't care about any of that. They literally just went off the rails and made OP characters.
Mm-hmm.
So
and everyone can win.
Correct. So that's where like the Force, remember, is like a pool of energy over here. I then draw from it and use it through me. So I don't have the Force.
Well,
like,
no, but see that,
24/7.
I guess that's where we're arguing different things, because again, I'm talking about Anakin at his prime is the Force.
Yeah,
that was the whole point of him being able to control anything. He literally was the Force.
But he's using that power still. So that my point is when you activate a power, he's still pulling. The source isn't him. Like Superman is the power. He doesn't like pull from the Kryptonian god, or it's always him. So where Anakin's pulling from a power source, even when he has the whole Force, he's still pulling from the Force, which is not him. He's using it.
We're
going
to give us a few more minutes and we're going to move on.
Yeah, exactly.
A few more points.
My bad. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
No, this is exactly what this was supposed to be. But continue, sir.
But and Caleb, great points. Like, first off, well done. And that storyline is amazing. And that's cool. But that's what Lucas was trying. When the nerds took those stories, again, the whole point was when you have this power, can you know you're good? Can you know you're not? And hence the reason why Anakin struggles with it and lets it go. But the cool thing is that's what he's creating is storylines. Nerds were just the DC nerds were just trying to create the most broken
and I agree.
thing.
Like if you're going to look at their entire arc, Superman is a stronger, more well-rounded, being able to constantly destroy you. But again, it's just so hard for me to think Anakin is basically the creator of the universe at that time, and you're talking about someone who, yeah, he's got powers, but you're talking about the dude who basically created the universe.
He never created the universe. He just had those powers.
No,
so
that's what I mean, though. Like he
never
became
created
that.
anything.
Like it, almost like you say, "I'm all the Jedi. I'm all the Sith." He was then becoming all the creators as the original creator passed over all of his knowledge and power to him. So that's what I mean in that sense. But so it's hard for me to wrap my head around something of that magnitude having any equal at that moment in time. Now, granted, that's and I understand it's a very small sliver of Anakin's arc, but he still had that power at that time. So if we're going to talk most power for the most powerful, I believe Anakin can stop Superman. If we're going to talk about the overall, it's not a comparison.
Yeah. And again, it all depends how it goes down, right? Like Anakin knows Superman's coming. So he's already procced, ready. Everything's going. He's got all of it ready. And before Superman ever stops, he acts first. You know, he pulls a Han Solo, right? He shoots first, which they still get mad about, but he did. But that's
he shot first. We don't even need to
he's
discuss
Han Solo. That's the whole point. I'm not waiting for this guy to shoot me. Like, so, but that's...
Look, if you're taught a lesson, honor the lesson. Like, don't just toss it aside.
So here's the funny thing, though. So that's it. So let's say Anakin catches him, right? Force holds him, stops time, right? Well, Superman's body's impervious to everything. Light, laser weapons do nothing. So he could take a lightsaber and do nothing. There's no amount of force he could create that could hurt him. So we would then have to say he could demolecularize him, go subatomic, go down to the quantum and break him apart, which the Force has never been talked about at the quantum level.
You don't believe Anakin could force choke Superman if
he couldn't because of the way Superman's body is. Like, that's the problem with Superman. If he gets hurt, there's nothing you could do to fucking fix him. There's nothing in the world. And again, they have other, Wonder Woman is super strong. They have other things.
Why? And then I'll allow us to just wrap up. But why do you believe the Force would be unable to cause Superman to not be able to breathe?
Because here's the thing. Superman, as you know, is an alien, doesn't need oxygen. Hence the reason why he can travel through space with nothing.
Okay, that's fair.
So that's
I guess I just always assumed he still had to, like, there was still some level of
human.
I guess
that's why it's a great writing capability.
I'm not the nerd. I'm not the biggest nerd here on the Star Wars. I do enjoy Star Wars.
Star Wars is awesome.
But why, in this case, why is Yoda struggling to hold a rock and he's one of the most powerful Jedi of all time.
He's like almost 1,000 years old.
Hold on. But if he's struggling, Anakin's going to be struggling. You're not going to stop Superman from moving at the speed of light and just running through you.
Well, we're saying preemptively. Like,
he's going to treat you like A-Train, baby.
Andy, honestly, I believe if Superman took off and Anakin knew at that moment, like, he would still be able to stop Superman. Now, I hadn't thought about the whole, like, I just still thought there was some level of breathing that had to occur because even on Krypton, they're breathing whatever the atmosphere.
There was some sort of an atmosphere,
right? So so I didn't quite take that whole thought into consideration. So I'm good with the non-force choking.
Yeah. But you're all good, man.
The force should still, at the level I'm thinking of, the force should still be able to stop Superman from moving.
But but let's say he does, right? So let's say Superman's moving at Mach 10. He stops him. That strain on Anakin, even with the creator's power, the force has never gone against anything that strong because there's no one that strong in that universe.
And also,
to
further,
I'll give you a little bit of that. I won't hate on that thought. There is a level of strain that you need to,
and Superman, can stop a speeding bullet, right? Well, that's the one thing that Mandalorians used to kill Jedi was original ammunition in the books was they used shotguns because they couldn't stop the bullets.
All the pellets. Yeah.
All the pellets.
But I mean, you're talking about low-level librarian Jedi that they were taking down. Not Anakin level.
This is the Mandalorian war, bro.
Not Anakin
this is the
level.
Mandalorian, bro.
We're not talking Anakin level sitting on the Jedi board master style. Like, no, sir.
No, I still think
I know Mandalorians are badass. I'm all about the Mandos, but
if they whip out those pellet guns again, they're done for.
No.
Anakin would stand a chance, I'd have to say.
No Mandos taken out. Anakin, Ahsoka, Mace. I mean, there's a list. There's a list that Mandos are not touching. Let's just.
But anyway, we'll save this for the next few weeks when we do the nonsense cast because I'm sure we can. Come back to that, but I see Pinky over here losing his mind. So what's going on in the sports world here, buddy? What's happening?
What was the next topic we had, Robert? I forgot.
Well, it's the NBA check-in.
He's talking about the team you're watching.
I imagine you're. Okay.
So I had a bet on the Avs. I had a bet on the Avs tonight. They won me $170. So.
Oh heck yeah!
There you go.
Let's go.
Nice.
And, they just went down a goal. Damn
it. They did. But that's like, I literally put all my money on today and the Super Bowl because I had some free bets I had to put out for the Super Bowl. They expired tomorrow. So I was all in today. So the fact that the Avs got me back to 170, I'm feeling pretty good.
Nice.
Feeling pretty good.
All right. Well, with that being said,
I'm big LOTR. I love it, but I don't see this one. Boggins, I know where you're coming from. I see what you're doing there.
So, but we'll do the NBA check-in. So, Pinky, Caleb, what's happened in the NBA world?
Embiid got hurt.
Yeah, that he did. That's a big topic we got. Yeah.
Well, that's just he had meniscus surgery.
Yeah.
4 weeks is like a possibility.
Oh, geez.
But I don't know again, you come back pretty quickly after that surgery, you could re-injure it again.
Well, isn't it too? You have to play so many games before you can be MVP and stuff like that.
No mas MVP.
He's out of that. He's done.
He had it was 5 games that he was allowed left.
Yeah, he only had 5 games left, and he's done.
He's gonna miss it easy.
Yup.
Yeah.
So then, who's the next guy to get the MVP?
Joker. Baby.
Conspiracy.
It's more of a conspiracy on Embiid because he decided not to, play.
Although I will say, Shea Alexander, who I think is number 2 right now in the
Gilgeous Alexander. Let's give him credit.
I'm gonna go without that because I don't know how to say it right. So Shea, as we'll say, is having an awesome season. He's got the Thunder right there in the top 4 of the West. He's really doing a great job. He's awesome. He's awesome. So
he's playing
really, really fun to watch. They do go as Shea goes though. When Shea has a bad game, they usually lose. So
back to Embiid.
Pretty normal.
Let's break this down just a little bit more. He's not coming back this season.
Oh.
He's done. He's done for the season. Let's call it what it is. All right? Like, this man his size, his history, he is not coming back this season, regardless of what Philly keeps trying to throw out there in the media and to their players. The season's done for Philly as far as their title aspirations go. Embiid's not coming back. And if he does, it will honestly be the stupidest thing I've seen an organization do in recent memory. Plain and simple. He is done.
How old is he?
29, 28.
Okay.
28 or 29, I want to say.
I got you. Hang on. Give me a second.
So
he has some injury issues that come up from time to time.
Okay.
Missed the first 2 years of his career with foot issues.
Yeah.
He didn't even play his true rookie year or his true sophomore year.
He is 29 years old.
29 years old.
Yeah. So you can get turf toe in basketball? I was like, Dion ruined that too? He took out the NBA?
He had major Liz Frank issues is really what it came down to.
I was like, you made that up. I think it's Anne Frank.
Oh, my God. This guy. So their season's done. I'm convinced, and anything else I think would be negligence from the organization, as nicely as I could put it. With that being said, there's also this ridiculously stupid narrative that's going around that he played because of the pressure from the media and fans to make sure that he was able to be in contention for his team. And he felt pressure from the NBA because if he didn't play enough games, he wasn't going to be eligible for awards and max dollars. I'm going to say right now, if that's true, then there is no longer an argument that any Embiid fan can make about him being a team player and wanting to do what's right to win. He is strictly an individual who's selfish and only cares about individual awards. Because if you are willing to risk your ultimate goal, which is a team goal, for individual accolades because you felt pressure based on amount of games played to win the award or from media calling you soft, there is no other way to say it other than you're selfish and you only care about the individual awards.
And he had done so much this year right now. He already won the MVP last year. So and he was on a really good level this year. There's just no reason to put himself at risk for those awards.
Not if what you've been saying all the time is I only care about the playoffs now. You going out there knowing you were already injured trying to do something says the exact opposite. There's no other way around it. And you will not be able to convince me otherwise.
So I know we had that issue with he last minute did not play in Denver. Last minute. My only issue with it is that he didn't come out of the locker room until after halftime when the Sixers, without him and Maxey and Harris, actually made it a game, which was pretty crazy. They made it a game, and that's when he came out. You didn't come out at the start to support your guys?
That could have to do with medical stuff, rehabbing.
Come on, bro. He could have came out.
There's plenty of guys who have done that.
He came out because the backups were playing well, and he thought, okay, now I'll come support you guys.
His rehab could have been done by then. Whatever they wanted him to do with his knee could have been done to the point where he was able to come out, and the timing was just that. That stuff I'm not going to worry about. The facts are, though, it's hard to say he's not ducking in Denver. I mean, that's just hard to say now. You're going on 4 years plus without playing a game in Denver. You're ducking it. But I want to be clear. Me thinking he's selfish is only if the reports of him feeling like he was pressured are true. If he went out to play because they had been on a 4-game skid and he really wanted to try to get his team going and that's all he cared about, and it just happened to cost him, he's not selfish in the least. But I'm just saying, if people truly want to believe this, he only played because of the 65-game minimum, because of what the media was saying. That's what Draymond's throwing out there, along with a bunch of other people. If that's true, if that is really what happened, there are serious issues with his character.
Absolutely.
So that's where I stand on the Embiid situation. Either way, the fact is he's out, and it's unfortunate for any true NBA fans because he was having a damn good season. So not getting to see that talent on the court is a bummer.
On a tear. What else we got in NBA, Caleb?
Well, we got the All-Star rosters were announced, so
yep,
that
was one of the other things we were supposed to be talking about was the All-Stars, my man.
How the hell does De'Aaron Fox or
I'll get there.
Sabonis not make the team?
I'll explain. It's pretty simple, actually. So anybody that's mad about it, like, just sorry, shut up, and I'll explain why. Eastern Conference first. Easy, dude. Easy. My Lord. Real quick, Eastern Conference. Now, keep in mind, these are the originals. We now have reserves that have filled in. But you've got Giannis, Embiid, Halliburton, Lillard, Tatum, Adebayo, Banchero. Scotty Barnes is one of the alternates. Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Maxey, Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young, Julius Randle. Obviously, Embiid's out, Randle's out, Trae Young and Scotty Barnes have replaced them. So that's where the Eastern Conference stands. There was a big issue with Trae Young not originally making the roster based on the fact that he is now going on his second year of averaging 25 and 10 and not making the All-Star team. I've said before, Trae Young is on the verge of becoming an elite player, but his shot selection and his turnovers and ball security have been bad. Decision-making, not great. And that's been costing him those situations. There's rumors going around that he is not the best personality, and he's kind of been blackballed because of his personality. But he is in as a reserve, so for now, not much of a conversation. On the Western Conference side, you've got Doncic, Durant, Alexander, Shai, James, Jokic, Devin Booker, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Karl Anthony Towns.
I'm interested in that lineup.
So here's where it could get a little interesting, Pinky. You could, and I wouldn't hate it, take off Anthony Towns and throw in Sabonis. That would be within range.
Sabonis should be in the All-Star game.
The problem with that is Sabonis didn't get the votes from the fans that Karl Anthony Towns did.
Because they're not watching Sacramento Kings games.
I'm just saying. The fans did not vote for him. If you're going to say they're not watching Kings games and they're watching Timberwolves games, I'm going to laugh at you.
Timberwolves are the number one team in the West right now, though. So, I mean, there's a little bit.
Yeah, but it's the Minnesota Timberwolves. The only fans watching the Minnesota Timberwolves are Minnesota Timberwolves. It's not a team that's going to draw fans from the coast, and they're going to stay up to watch a Minnesota Timberwolves game.
Let's go Nuggets, baby. Let's go.
It's the same as the Kings. The amount of viewership each team's getting is got to be pretty close to damn equal. It just has to be. So that's where Sabonis could have a slight argument. You're not replacing Anthony Davis with him. You're not replacing Jokic, and you're not replacing Durant. That you're just not. That those names aren't happening. So the only argument for Sabonis is Karl Anthony Towns. When it comes to De'Aaron Fox, I've loved him since he came out of Kentucky. He's fast. He's smooth. I love his game. But you're not replacing Doncic. You're not replacing Shai. You're not replacing Devin Booker or Steph Curry. So Anthony Edwards would maybe be your only option. And the way he's playing this year and the excitement level he creates, Fox isn't beating him out either. So what you start seeing here with the Sacramento Kings, and let's be honest, Sabonis is really good, but he is always going to hold them back unless he decides to develop some kind of shot from 15 feet and out. He's always going to be limited. So while he can put up 20, 20, and 10 as a triple-double,
I mean,
that kind of stuff is able to be shut down come playoff time because you start specifically scheming for what he can't do. So regular season, it looks nice. Playoffs, it looks a lot different. De'Aaron Fox, on the other hand, is a silky smooth guard who can do just about everything on the offensive end. On the defensive end, he's a slightly below average to average defender. But the pieces around him for what he provides don't necessarily match up. So you get these really good players that are coming together to create a really good team and have really good success. that don't have quite the fan draw or the talent level to be at the superstar status to put them over the top from other guys. And unfortunately, that's just the truth of those Sacramento Kings players. And so when you actually break it down, I don't want to hear snubbed. They weren't. Based on the way it's set up and who's over them, I personally am not replacing people with them. Karl Anthony Towns' offensive game is really good. His defensive game is so-so. Sabonis has them slightly on defense, but when it comes to offense, I'll take Karl Anthony Towns' game. So when you start weighing those things, like, I don't see where the snub comes into play personally.
I just feel like they're all-stars. I do. I know
like Jamal Murray's an all-star, but I'm not putting him on the roster over anybody else that's on there either,
right,
based on the way his regular season's
going. And I understand, and maybe that goes with the, when you have the West versus East, right? When you can draft anybody, maybe they make it. When it's like, well, we have all these guys in the West, like, you can't make it. So
that's what it.
But it also goes back. It also goes back to the narrative.
What I'm hearing
Joker
is that
still hasn't had an all-star teammate.
I don't like those narratives, so you're not going to hear me talk about that because Jamal Murray's all pro. He's all NBA. Like, so I really don't give a shit about if you're an all-star or not. That's like saying, well, he never played with any Pro Bowlers. No, who gives a shit?
So
that definitely doesn't mean anything. Like,
I need to come over and get educated with this game so I can understand some NBA.
Anytime.
Yeah, we'll get you, man. After Sunday, it's NBA and hockey, bro.
Well, I know that's what I'm saying. Sunday, the 18th, right, is the All-Star game. That'd be a perfect way to start.
Yeah, there's some possibilities there.
Ish. They don't play there's no defense in the All-Star game though. So
but it's just
the way the new format is. There is a little bit of defense, especially that last push, because they don't play a final quarter. They play 3 quarters, and then it's the basketball tournament rules. Remember? Then there becomes a point total at the end that you have to get to, rather than playing a specific amount of time. So because you're trying to reach a specific point total, defense does actually start coming into play again, which is nice. So it's gotten better since they changed that, because for a while there it was comparable to the Pro Bowl. But the 3-point contest, the skills challenge, and the dunk contest are worthless now, unfortunately.
That they are. All right, Robert, what's next, baby?
So now that wraps up the NBA. So if you got some final comments, now's to get it in.
Joker's still that dude, bro.
Plenty of time to discuss everything that's going down here, and we'll catch up, not just NBA, but college basketball as well here in the next couple of weeks.
All right. So first and foremost, since we're going to be, getting into the Super Bowl, let's have a trip down memory lane and let's talk about some of the best Super Bowl moments. So, Mr. Andy, why don't you start off with some of the best Super Bowl moments you can recall?
Hold on.
Oh, Pinky?
I believe the first part, what is your first Super Bowl memory?
Your first Super Bowl memory. All right. Andy, what's your first Super Bowl memory?
The funniest thing is I do remember, I even had asked Pinky about this last time we were hanging out. The first thing I remember is when Larry Brown, that corner that I don't remember hearing anything about, just dominated the Super Bowl, had 2 picks, and it just ruined everything. So that's the first thing I really, really remember. Most Super Bowl parties back then, the Chiefs were never in, so I never had a rooting interest. So they became huge drinking parties. So I do remember Wasp. Not sure, but that was the Chiefs thing.
I do not.
I put that comment on there a while ago. I was waiting for you to put it on the screen because I figured out after some of the things I wrote, you're only picking certain things. But yeah, like Pinky told me, we talked about that. I'll always remember because Chiefs fans, they always say that toss power trap, 65 toss power trap, right? That's a big thing. But I didn't see the game. I watched it later. I got to see it because I wanted to see us when we were good with Hank Stram all those years. But that was iconic for me. I do remember that. I mean, like we said, those were always great years. But I was going to try to say
what's the first Super Bowl you can remember watching in that moment?
Yeah. Chiefs 49ers at your birthday party. Like, my memory, as you know, is shit. After 7 kids, man, it's gone completely away. But remembering you being so sober that you could hold my child, that was great. I remember those moments.
Well, that's definitely a lie.
I remember your mom being handsy, so I think your dad was already like sitting in a chair. So like, I do remember that. So your Super Bowl mom is very different than normal, and I love Linda. She's a great woman, but like, there's definitely different layers of Pinkertons here. So I was just saying, but that would probably be it. Like, I remember those moments, and just like you stated, I was a Chiefs fan sitting there like, oh my God, I don't know if we're going to do it. And Pink is just like, whoa, baby, anything's great. And I was like, yeah, so it was a good time. But yeah, that's probably my first. But as I say, again, I'm trying to get more into all this stuff now as an adult, like really watching and getting into like the NFL experience.
Nice. Now, what's your favorite Super Bowl that you've watched?
The Eagles won because the refs weren't a part of it. It was just a serious, like, just straight up. No, I enjoyed the Eagles one a lot. Probably it's got to be the 49ers one, though. That was such a great day. I mean, everything was awesome. Pinky's birthday for the 40th was just amazing. We had a great time. I got to have my kids with me. Like I said, Pinky's mom was handsy, so that was great. And then, like, just across the board, it was awesome. Like, everybody was there cheering and hollering. Looked like the 49ers are going to win. Sammy Watkins gets amazing third down conversion. I mean, it was just...
It was a pretty amazing party from what I hear.
Yeah, it was. And there's a lot of chicken wings, and I'm definitely a fat
We're
kid,
like
so.
2 more comments away from getting the rainbow screen and just that black and white dial. Like, just...
Yep. But no, it was awesome. So I enjoyed it. But that'd be it for me. So I'll stop. But yeah, those are my moments I really, really enjoyed as a fan.
Pinky?
Well, my first Super Bowl moment, I was in Germany overseas. Caleb knows this. It's how I became a Broncos fan. The Broncos were playing the 49ers. It's like 1 a.m. in the morning in Germany. And the Broncos are wearing orange jerseys. And I thought they were just so cool. Broncos got rolled that Super Bowl 55-10. It's epic. It didn't matter. I love those jerseys. Just so happened, like 2 years later, we moved to Colorado where the Broncos are. So it was just kind of like I was all in on the Broncos. So that Super Bowl with the 49ers, it's the biggest lopsided loss of all time. Or was the 49ers one? 49ers Chargers one worse? I don't know. It was pretty bad, but that's my first memory of watching the Super Bowl. Pretty close second is I did Bills Giants has a big place in my heart. That's when we first moved back to Colorado. We moved from Germany to Colorado, and I actually, that was my first bet on a football game. I bet $2 with my grandpa on I bet on the Bills to win, and they shanked the field goal to lose. Right. I will always remember that, and it was awesome. It was just awesome watching it with my grandpa and having a good time. So it was great. It's great stuff.
Nice. Now, Caleb.
So I've been trying to think about this quite a bit, and
if you need a moment, I've got mine ready to go.
Go because I might. Yeah, you go.
So, of course, being the younger of the group, my memory is, still rather new to you all. My first
Dick
one
move.
is from I got to. I got to call it the old guy sometime. It's just how it be. But it was the Patriots-Eagles game 2005.
Good Super Bowl. I don't know. That's a horrible Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that was McNabb thrown up on the field one.
What are you talking about? That was a good Super Bowl.
No, it wasn't.
That was close. T.O. had one of the best Super Bowl games of all time.
I love that.
That game never felt close.
But I don't know why that one stuck out to me. I just remember that being such a huge hyped game, and I was really excited to watch it. And I think, honestly, now that I remember it too, was when the commercials were getting really, really big at that time. The movie trailers were big at that time, which, of course, you know, if you know 2005, you know, that was the year Revenge of the Sith came out. So that was, you know, some big, big, big things that year. So that Super Bowl was really my first one that I recall and was really excited for. My favorite Super Bowl memory, and we talked about this, I think it was last week, was the 2015 Super Bowl with the Patriots and the Seahawks. Because I was in Germany. I had just gotten there. I'd been there for 4 months. So not really getting to know anybody, and usually, you know, you get together for a Super Bowl party. Well, that's not a thing over there because it's 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. But I had by that point made a lot of friends, and they were like, Robert, you work at a Pizza Hut on base. They've got wings. Here's €50. Get us a bunch of wings. We'll get some German stuff, and we'll get some beer, and we're just gonna watch this, and we're gonna celebrate watching football with you and having a great time.
At like 1 a.m. in the morning.
At 1 a.m. So we're like, yeah, and we all have work the next day, so we're just going to town, having a blast, and it was by far one of the greatest experiences I had, getting to experience it with somebody in a totally different country that doesn't, you know, it's not a thing over there. So it was awesome, for sure.
So I will share my favorite Super Bowl. I'm biased. It's Super Bowl 32. Broncos, Packers. Nobody giving the Broncos a chance. Broncos are 14-point underdogs in a Super Bowl. And it's back and forth. Brett Favre going for back-to-back. Elway going for his first. Terrell Davis is going crazy. I mean, I had a really good halftime. My girlfriend was really nice to me at halftime. It was a good time.
Caleb's like, I've lost all control.
Oh, man.
It is what it is.
We're staying pretty PC, Caleb. The way we talk off camera, there's no.
Oh, I'm well aware, guys. I'm well aware.
Let's just say,
I'm just
Kiki
trying
had
to
a
make
good
sure
time.
that this audience can be as large as possible, not turn into perverts peeping through windows.
I thought you wanted the conservative vote.
Yeah, what is wrong with that, Caleb? I don't understand that. I don't understand your issue with that.
I would
It was
prefer
awesome.
the people that can watch our show are not ones that have to go door to door and disclose information about why they're disclosing information. That's all I'm saying.
I'm pretty sure
man.
you've repped Joe Rogan's podcast on here. I don't think you can say anything. I'll just
That is a memorable moment. 32, obviously, as a Broncos fan, Super Bowl 50 is a big moment, too, just because I was with a bunch of friends. We were having a good time.
Yeah.
And nobody picked the Broncos to win that one. That's probably what was, like, really special about that.
That's cool. Heartbroken was the Falcons, even more than the Bucs stomping the crap out of the Chiefs, and we didn't even score a field or a touchdown. That Falcons Super Bowl hit me hard. That Julian
Which one,
Edelman
the Patriots
catch,
one?
Yeah, when Julian Edelman makes that catch between his legs and just that was rough because I was really, really, really hoping the Falcons would pull it off, and they just collapsed. That was sad. Chiefs, we collapsed from the beginning, so it never was a really fear to win, but the Falcons could have. That was such a rough game. That was sad.
Caleb, are you done dwelling?
Well, so here's the thing. I like to think of myself, and whether it's true or not, you got to pump yourself up, right? So I like to think of myself as a bit of a historian. And growing up, my brother and I would watch any tape we could get our hands on of sporting events that we might not have been able to watch or see, whether it was just because we were doing something else as a family or because we weren't old enough and we went back and watched things whenever they were possible. So I don't know, to be perfectly honest with you, I've been told my memory is terrible, and for certain things it definitely is.
Pinky.
But what I believe I might have flashes of, I honestly can't tell you if they're because, I actually was watching it with the adults in the room with my parents and parties, or if it's just my brother and I watched so much film from these games, I've created kind of this backwards memory, if you will. So I've got these slight memories of I feel like watching the Doug Williams Super Bowl. I feel like I've got these slight memories of watching the Giants wide and Bills wide right with the Bills.
Absolutely.
So I can't tell you for sure if those are. And I know I grew up watching sports. Like I know my family did. So I have no doubt that I was watching those Super Bowls, or I was at least around the TV when they were happening. But I can't honestly tell you if those are real memories or just for me watching all the film back over. So I will tell you probably one I know for sure is a memory is the Steelers Cowboys. We went over to a good family friend's house, and they had a son who I was good friends with, so it was a lot of fun for us as kids too. He was a big Cowboys fan, and I never liked the Cowboys, so I was rooting for the Steelers.
Who was the Steelers quarterback?
Neil O'Donnell. Don't play with me. I just told you I consider myself a bit of a historian, so I'd like to think I know the basics. But I think that's my earliest memory is watching that Super Bowl and thinking, Steelers have a chance. Steelers have a chance. Steelers have a chance. Steelers have a chance. Shit, it's over. like all of a sudden, midway through the third quarter, that game was done, and there was no questions about it. So it was like heartbreak. And I wasn't even a Steelers fan. I was a Broncos fan for sure at that point, but it was like heartbreak because the team I wanted to win didn't, and my buddies rubbing it in my face the rest of the night while the parents are upstairs partying because none of them cared.
You know, that just seems to be a theme. Like, I want to say, I'd have to go back through the list, and maybe this is a topic we can touch back on. How many times have you rooted for the Super Bowl loser?
A lot.
I feel like it's been a lot for me.
A lot, but some of that has to do with the fact that, like, you know, you're not rooting for New England.
It's at least 6 times with the Patriots.
Yeah, right.
I'll make that our homework, and we'll work that into the queue here for Super Bowl week.
One of my favorite memories are twofold. The Steve Young Steve Young Jerry Rice show against the Chargers.
Obliteration.
I was a big 49ers fan growing up because I always thought you had a team, but you were allowed to kind of pick a B team in the opposite conference if you wanted to. Yeah. And being, you always find ways to become fans of things. Being a Catholic, I was always a big Notre Dame fan as well, outside of my Nebraska fandom. And so I like Joe Montana, which led me to the 49ers. I kind of always played receiver for what little football I did play. So I was a huge Jerry Rice guy. So I always had a thing for the 49ers. And then my brother and I grew up right-handed, but my dad always taught us to practice our dominant hand to be just as good, or your non-dominant hand to be just as good as your dominant hand. So we would play games of basketball, and we would pick left-handed players that we would imitate, and we would have to play left-handed the whole time. So I always had affinity for smooth lefties, and Steve Young was a smooth lefty. So I was a big, big Steve Young fan. So watching him just throw those bombs to Rice or running around and stuff, that's one of my favorite Super Bowl memories. The other one, and I'm just avoiding the obvious pinky of John Elway in the helicopter. I've got stories about that for days. That's kind of always at the top of the list. I'm kind of going outside of the normal fandom here for you. So don't think I'm not there with you, buddy.
Oh, I'm judging you. It's fine.
I figured you would, but just know that that's just, it's there. It's given. I'm going outside that. So Steve Young, Jerry Rice bombs. And then Larry Fitzgerald and Kurt Warner and what they did with the Steelers. And just the fact that I have to listen to people give Ben Roethlisberger credit for being a great quarterback because I despise him so much as a human being.
I still don't think Santonio Holmes got both feet down.
He did. That was an amazing catch. I fully believe both feet were down. That toe tap was unreal. That's a Super Bowl moment, no different than David Tyree's helmet catch, Plaxico Burress in the end zone. I can go on with a lot of this stuff, but those are two of the ones.
Plaxico was wide open. That doesn't count.
It was still a catch to beat the arguably greatest team in NFL history, right? Like, that touchdown has great significance. So just those things, historian-wise, thinking about Super Bowl III and what it meant. If that game didn't go the way it did, the NFL as we know it never would have happened.
So, Caleb, when we go to Cleveland, when Andy and I go to Cleveland, I know you don't get a pass a lot. We got to get you a pass to go see a Browns game and see the Hall of Fame. It's awesome.
It is on my bucket list. That would be something I would love to do. It depends on, how many years from now you do it, because I've got a couple years before I can really get a pass of that kind of magnitude.
After they hit double digits, it's easy, Caleb. Because then
that's what I'm saying. Like, I know for sure then that ain't a problem.
Yeah.
Once we're talking like 5-6, I'm probably good to go. But that's still,
they got to be able to wipe their own ass. I get it.
Yeah. We're still a little bit from that. So
all right. So
we'll make it happen.
Anything else on previous Super Bowls before we move into the conversation of the week?
I'm good.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we'll save the best for last on this one. We'll go ahead and get the hot and spicy take out of the way. So, Caleb, what are your thoughts on the Chiefs for winning Super Bowl 58, sir?
So this is kind of one of those, I'm torn. It's almost like I want to say the heart says the 49ers, the head says the Chiefs, but then my heart also says, actually, and Broncos fans will hate me for this, and I don't really give a shit, right? Like, I'm going to do me, and we've proven that.
You're not a Broncos fan. It's fine.
Right. Yeah.
I'm surprised Cam hasn't come on to give you.
Yeah, well, he probably will after this if he's listening. So, I don't think the Chiefs are a true Bronco rival, and I believe the Patriots are a bigger rival to the Broncos than the Chiefs ever have been. I don't really care that it's in division. The AFC West as a whole, I don't think are rivals at all, because they're always one good and the rest are bad. That's kind of the way the division has always worked. We want to talk about rivals, go look at the NFC North, and that'll give you a real good idea of what rivals should be. That being said, I believe the Patriots are the Broncos' biggest rival in history. And because of that, I actually am pulling for the Chiefs, not just with my head, but with my heart. Pinky, quiet.
Hold on.
Quiet.
You make that comment, and you're just like looking over the 70s and 80s. Recency bias, yes, I agree with you.
No,
when we talk about 70s and 80s, like the AFC West was legit.
Really? How many Super Bowls did the Chiefs win in that time?
Well,
Oh, okay. So how many Super Bowls?
They won one in the 70s.
Wait.
They won one in the 70s.
How many Super Bowls did the Chargers win in that time?
Well, they'd never won one. So.
Oh, okay. How many Super Bowls did the Broncos win in that time?
They went to 3.
No, how many did they win?
They went to 3.
Oh, okay. So you're proving my point that there's.
Well, you're just saying, but again, a rivalry is just teams. It's just teams competing against each other, and I feel like in the 70s and 80s, there was still good rivalry in the AFC West. I feel like you're downplaying that.
The only reason it was considered rivalry is because the NFL was regional back then.
Yeah.
It wasn't actual rivals. It was just because it was regional. There's a difference.
Yep.
Rivalries to me have to mean you are playing each other in the games that matter the most.
Yep.
Broncos Patriots did that.
Broncos
haven't done that with anybody in their division, and neither has anybody else in the division with anybody else. So I don't see it. Just my definition of the rival and what it means. But that being said, I am actually heart and head pulling for the Chiefs, and the reason the heart is with the Chiefs is because of, I believe, the Patriots being the rival. I'm not a fan of the dynasty that the Patriots had. I want to see somebody take down that dynasty. I want to see somebody outdo Brady. And I think Mahomes and Andy Reid and the Chiefs have the best possibility of doing such, or at least getting close enough to be on par with. And then we don't have to just hear about Brady and Belichick and the Patriots. So that being said, that's where the heart is. The head, breaking it down for you people, and then you guys can go off. If we're going to talk about edges, who would you give the edge to at head coach? Chiefs.
Andy
Reid. Who would you give the edge to at quarterback? Chiefs.
Mahomes.
Who would you give the edge to at defense? I would say Chiefs. Those are the 3 biggest keys to me for being able to go out and win the game, which is the Super Bowl. I think those are the three biggest things that you need to have. The reason I say the defense is the Chiefs is because when you look at this playoff run, the Chiefs defense has been nothing if not solid, and they are not beating themselves. The 49ers are doing the exact opposite. What I am seeing from the Chiefs is a team that is winning games, but doing so in which they're playing within themselves, not creating mistakes, and then taking advantage of what the other team does. What I'm seeing from the 49ers is trying to give games away, and the other team just makes more mistakes. And I know that's a really simplistic view, but if you look at San Francisco against the Packers, if Love plays better, or I can't remember who it was, catches that ball from Purdy, the Packers probably win that game.
Yeah.
With the Lions, if you have players make some plays or they run the ball a little bit more than throw it, they're probably walking out of there with the victory, not the 49ers. So when I look at those two as a whole and their playoff runs, I truly believe right now the Chiefs are playing better football. And I believe in the key areas where you need to have the advantage, they do have it. Whether it's little slight or a wide margin, to me that doesn't matter because football is a game of inches. It's a well-known cliche, but it's never more true than in the Super Bowl. And there are time and time again of examples of that happening. 1 yard short, 2 yard line and throwing instead of running. Like there are insane amount of examples of that being absolutely true in the Super Bowl. So if you're going to talk about game of inches and we're going to talk about those advantages, what I do see is a Chiefs team that I'm amazed they're actually not the favorite from Vegas.
Yeah.
I'll talk about what I think the game plans need to be for each team after you guys kind of go through and we'll dissect a little more. But that's my big picture.
I'm curious what Robert has to say.
So after watching what was the Lions and 49ers game and the Lions just giving up, no, not really. They did fight to the end. That was, it was a great season. But for the 49ers, the defense, man, it's just not that strong. And against the Mahomes offense, it's just not going to happen. And I'm pulling for the 49ers, but the Chiefs are hot. They're making plays. They're just there, man. The 49ers have not looked strong enough to beat anybody. And they're lucky to be in the Super Bowl, in my opinion. And if I'm not mistaken, is Tony going to be in the Super Bowl from what I've been reading? Is he going to be playing? Because that would be an interesting thing to see with him.
It would not surprise me if they just inactive, healthy scratch. It would not surprise me at all.
So,
and I said he was going to be a fantasy standout this year. So, trust me, if I'm saying that, it's not taken lightly by any means.
Sure.
I got the receipts. I got the receipts.
Oh boy. So yeah, that's.
I don't know if I had a good year this year, Pinky. My percentage might be dropping a little bit. I'm a little nervous.
Yes, I was curious to see what this is. But yeah, no, overall, my thoughts are going to be that the Chiefs are just going to win. As much as I hate to say it, I do think the Chiefs are going to be the stronger team to go through, and just show up the 49ers.
Caleb, do you want to know what you said on the podcast? Because I did write it
No.
down.
I know we have it. That's season wrap-up stuff. That's season wrap-up stuff. I've got a pretty good idea on most of it.
Pinky's like, I'm ready, bro.
It's so good, though. It's so good.
I've got a pretty good idea on most of it, and unfortunately, I made some bold, terrible predictions. And you know me, Pinky, I'll eat the crow, but I know one of them that I was extremely right on, and there's a lot of people who are refusing to discuss and admit that they're jumping on my bandwagon. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, boy. Spicy.
I can't wait to hear that. All right, Andy, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Just like Caleb said, I mean, the biggest thing for me is, you guys know, I always get super nervous about the games, because the hardest part is I can't break the habit of looking at it from a standpoint of paper. And even JJ Watt commented, he's like, if you look at before the Chiefs played the Ravens, you look at the teams, and just like Caleb said, all the tips were to the Ravens, but no one could account for Lamar getting emotional and missing some throws. The thing is those plays were there.
Whoa, Andy! You don't do my boy dirty like that. You put it on Monken and that god awful game plan. Don't even start with me.
Correct.
Hold on,
Andy. Right. The game plan was trash.
You can't run the ball 6 times against the Chiefs, who actually are pretty bad. They're not great against the run.
They're ish. They are ish.
Weren't they top 5 against the run this year?
Yeah, they were top 5 in everything except for points scored.
Yeah, so don't say they were top 5 against the run this year, Pinky. Easy, bud.
Hold on. Your running back. They were horrible against the Bills against the run, and then
you're gonna have some bad games, bro. You're gonna have.
First play, Gus Edwards had 15 yards. He gets 2 carries the rest of the game.
Right. Oh, yeah. Your running back should have more than 6 touches the entire. Right. That's why I don't give a shit if Lamar missed some throws. Like, you shouldn't be put in the situation. Like, and not running 2 tight end set. Like, we're not going back, Andy. We're not going back.
But yeah, so that's the thing. Like, so on paper, it's just like Caleb's going down the list. Chiefs have the advantage at quarterback. At running back, nope. CMC is pretty wow. I do love Pacheco, and CEH has been playing huge. So I'll give that to the Chiefs. But CMC is just unaccountable for. What he can do is pretty crazy. So that goes it. You go to tight ends. Kittle and Kelsey are both, I love them both. And the funny thing is, I didn't know they're friends. So in real life, they're like best friends. I didn't know that.
They started tight end U. Like, those two are the reason tight end U even exists. So yeah, big time connection there for sure.
So I would say that you could maybe say it fizzles out. Like the Kelsey and Kittle, we'll say just kind of 50-50. Whoever you choose is whoever you choose. Wide receiver wise, I would say Rashee Rice may cancel out Ayuk. But Debo is pretty ridiculous how they can get him the ball. So Chiefs don't have a guy to cancel out. So receiver, I'd say, goes 49ers. O-lines, I'd say both have strengths and both have been gashed. They've both had problems with stopping at times. So
Cooney being out's a big issue for Chiefs.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Well, a long shot to play, I should say, but let's just call him out for now.
Well, let's say Juwan Taylor jumps off sides 4 times, which he's done. Well, that can destroy, you can't quantify and look at all the things that can happen, because maybe Juwan Taylor has like last game, he had no fouls. But Trey Smith, who hasn't had fouls, had 2. So Trey Smith stopped 2 drives. So my thing is you go with your gut. Just like Caleb said, I believe the Chiefs, I hope, will show up and prove why we should be there. Because this is it, right? If we win this game, it's mammoth, right? What did everybody say? I'm sorry, I was reading that. But that's Kelsey wins the contest. That's awesome, Billy. But that's the thing, right? Like, we go in this and we win. Well, that's pretty nuts, right? The worst receiving core of all time in Kansas City history. Well, maybe not history. Johnny Baldwin years were pretty rough. But we go through and we do that. That's pretty amazing. So we had to beat the Bills in Buffalo. We did it. We had to beat the Ravens in Baltimore, and we did it. So now this is pretty huge. So I will definitely 100% believe that we can do it. And I just pray to God that the 49ers just stay the 49ers, because the Lions, like you said, man, they exposed that defense. They beat them up. Mm-hmm. And there was times where it looked really, really bad. Like Pinky and I, before we left to get my kids, it looked like it was over. Lions got this. There's no chance of anything. But then you start getting safe. You start nullifying play calling. You start shutting things down. And I hope Andy Reid, just from the very beginning, this is the big if he goes all out, it'll be really exciting to see what we can do, because Kyle Shanahan's definitely going all out. That guy wants to beat Andy Reid so freaking bad. Mm-hmm. So as long as Andy Reid's, doing his mad wizard thing and just going nuts, the Chiefs will be really fun. Secondly, MVS has got to catch 2 or 3 balls. He has to. He was phenomenal in the last game. So that Ravens catch when he's falling down, oh my God, I would have never bet he made that catch, but he does.
Well, I just heard this morning, and I had thought about it, but it didn't quite break it down in my head this deep. Give Mahomes a ton of credit on that throw. A ton of credit, because everybody should remember earlier in the season against the Eagles, he tried to put it out in front of MVS, and then Rockhand showed up and he couldn't bring it in.
Yeah.
This time he threw it under MVS so he could catch it with his body.
Yep.
Look, you could say that maybe it wasn't quite on par, but when you're playing at that level, at that caliber, I'm going to err on the side the quarterback underthrew it on purpose rather than trying to let him run underneath
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And in that's big time adjustment within the offense of the Chiefs. And I'll go a little bit deeper when everybody's done, but that just you bringing it up, that's a change in the way the Chiefs are attacking people.
Correct. Which is wild. And that's the thing, like we talk about, like the 2 tight end sets with the Ravens. I 100% agree with you. I think that would have been amazing. I think it would have been phenomenal if they just didn't do it. That's like the Chiefs. When we run the 2 backs with CEH and Pacheco, crazy things come out of that. But we've been very successful. But Andy Reid doesn't like 2 running backs on the field. But when we do that, CEH is shifty in a phone booth. Like, guy's got no burst, but he's shifty, and he never goes down on the first hit. Like, every play gets hit by 4 or 5 guys, and a 1-yard play goes 4. A 5-yard play goes 10. Like, he's just shifty little dude. And Pacheco just fucking pounds it in with his heart. So that's what I'm like, we've got things that we could really do to take the wind out of the 49ers defense. I'm just not sure what Andy Reid is thinking. Now, I do have faith in him. And, Veach and Reed definitely deserve me to keep my mouth shut, so I will. But, I mean, it's insane. And the fact that MVS catching 3 to 4 balls a game has made such a huge impact on our offense, and us finally realizing Rashee Rice is number 1, it's mammoth. But that's the funniest thing. Like, let's say we go back, like Nacua. Well, week 1, Nacua was, the number 1 because Cooper Kupp's out. But that's amazing that Sean McVay would put a rookie as the number 1 wide receiver and give him the number 1 targets. It just shows that McVay's working at a different level. And what does Andy Reid always say? Oh, we got to work him in slowly. They can't understand it. I'm like, dude, he can run routes. He's ran routes.
Andy Reid's a genius, but he's the old school mentality. It's just ingrained into him. You're not pulling that out. Genius, and he'll come around. Unlike a lot of old school guys, Andy Reid will come around, but he still starts a certain way because of that old school DNA that just is what it is. McVay's new school. He's going to play talent when he sees talent, and he's going to put talent in the best possible situation right away.
Yep.
That's just the new school mentality.
Yep.
So you get that dichotomy, and it's interesting to watch how it plays out over time. Pinky, where are you at? Because then we need to start dissecting a little bit. Because I want to start. I got the deep thoughts coming still.
Well, look, this is a very interesting matchup because we have 2 teams that have done things differently. The Chiefs have played some of their best football in the playoffs.
Yeah, by far.
And I give Chiefs crap, and Andy will vouch for me. They have the face of the NFL.
Yeah.
They're going to get some calls here and there. That usually feels a little unfair. It does. I will say, though, in the playoffs this year, they have not gotten those calls. They have earned everything they got because they did not beat themselves, which just is like a mirror image of the Patriots. That's how the Patriots were so successful. They didn't beat themselves. The Chiefs went into Buffalo. They were the underdogs. They won. They won at the last minute, missed field goal. That field goal hits.
Different game.
They won in Baltimore. Now, they pretty much dominated Baltimore, but Baltimore gave away that game. 2 turnovers in the end zone, right? So that could have changed the game. But they're playing their best football. The 49ers are coming in not playing their best football. We have not seen them play their best football, but they're still here. Top to bottom, in most cases, the 49ers are a more dominant team in most positions. Besides coach and quarterback, Kittle, Kelsey, I feel like that's a pretty close mirror. O-line's pretty good. D-line's pretty good. 49ers have better linebackers overall. Chiefs have better corners overall. Like, it's a really good matchup. It's really, really a good matchup, X's and O's. again, I'm biased. I'm rooting for the Niners. I don't want to Chiefs. I want to see the Chiefs go back to back. That's just my thing. Now, I've accepted the Chiefs' greatness. What Mahomes has done this playoffs, he's just played within the offense. He didn't take too many chances. They didn't beat themselves. Like, plain and simple. The Bills and the Ravens should have beat the Chiefs. If you watch those games, you should have walked away and been like, how did they not win that game?
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs didn't beat themselves. 49ers, in both games they played, you're like, how'd the 49ers win? Somehow they found that way to win. I just have this belief the 49ers are going to play their best football in this game. And the 49ers playing their best football should beat that Chiefs team.
Even if the Chiefs are playing their best football?
That Chiefs team, as what I watched all year, and it struggled. Again, they had to beat Buffalo by a missed field goal. They had to beat Lamar by them turning the ball over twice in the end zone. Those things don't happen. We may have different outcomes.
True.
I mean, but
now again, this is the best defense
thing about the 49ers, though. Like,
best defense the Chiefs have had during Mahomes' era,
sure.
without a doubt.
Oh yeah,
without a doubt.
Yeah.
But you're talking about on every level of that 49ers offense, if they play to their potential. Really, if the 49ers play to their potential, they should smoke the Chiefs.
Well, I mean,
I don't think that's going to happen.
The only advantage they literally have, though, is you're going to give them the edge at running back, obviously. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But then they have one receiver.
They have the edge at wide receiver easily. Ayuk and Debo are way better than anything the Chiefs have.
Wow, I'm not going to. No.
Kittle and Kelsey are kind of a wash at this point.
They are a wash. They're definitively a wash for me. The offensive lines are pretty much a wash. The quarterback's better.
I'll say the Chiefs O-line is still better than the 49ers O-line as a whole. Trent Williams being the best offensive lineman in this game.
Let's call it a wash. But the only difference is that you can say the 49ers have two dangerous wide receivers.
Look, bro,
and the Chiefs only have one.
All I'm saying is the Buffalo Bills scored 20 points on the Chiefs. The Ravens scored 10. The Chiefs scored 23 against the Bills. They scored 17 against the Ravens. The Lions scored 20-something against the 49ers, and the Packers scored 20-something, and they still won. Again.
But what
Mahomes' magic is real. Andy Reid is real. Andy Reid is amazing. He really is.
So here's what I'm trying to get to. You're saying, unless I'm hearing it wrong, you're saying the only advantage really, truly, that the 49ers have is at the wide receiver position. The problem with that is the better quarterback is on the Chiefs' side. So if that be the case,
but he has to play again. He has to play better. He has to play better than he did against the Ravens. He has to play better against them than the Bills.
Hang on. I would argue that you could call it either a slight edge then to the Chiefs because quarterback means so much, making the right decisions, and Mahomes hasn't made mistakes like Purdy has. Purdy just hasn't had it cost him yet. Or you could just call it a wash because the Chiefs are lacking in the wide receiver, but they're better at quarterback. The 49ers are solid at receiver, but their quarterback isn't as good as Mahomes. So you can call it a wash there if you want to, in which case you're washing the entire game basically, which I'm not going to argue with. I think you want to argue X's and O's in that regard, you could say it's dead nuts, and I could see where it would be fair to do so. This is where, if we're going to start going deeper now and start arguing game plan and play calling and X's and O's, this is where I would argue truly with my mind, which is why I said heart originally was leaning towards San Francisco, head was leaning towards the Chiefs, and then the heart went Chiefs because of the whole dynasty and situation and everything else. The head was arguing Chiefs because, Pinky, didn't I say the Chiefs needed to do some very specific things to start being dominant and truly realize their potential. And it's
I don't
started to
think they're
happen.
dominant right now, though. They're winning. They're not dominant.
I will argue they're dominant, and this is why. Once I said it needed to go through game planning for Rashee Rice as your number one, running with Pacheco, which would then automatically open up things.
Those were your keys to win. Those were your keys to win. They needed a Buffalo kicker to miss a 45-yard field goal.
No, Pinky, hang on.
After fumbling on the goal line.
Hang on, dude.
This is not dominant. This is just a one.
Yeah. It is dominant, and this is why.
It's not dominant. They just won.
Hang on, dude. Hang on.
You're so wrong.
Let me just. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, Caleb, keep going. Keep going, Caleb.
Good.
You're good.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Give your stuff.
That's not dominance, bro. That's what I'm not getting from you. That's not dominance. They barely won. They played on a team that didn't make mistakes, which is what you're supposed to do. They didn't dominate. They didn't blow them out. They barely won. So how do they dominate? And Andy will agree with me because he always talks about the Chiefs dominating, which they haven't done.
Yeah.
Every Super Bowl they won, they have not dominated. So you tell me how they dominate.
Well, this is how I'd say the Chiefs dominate. So you've got L'Jarius Sneed, who's only given up one touchdown all season, and in postseason has only given up one. That was the Zay Flowers touchdown. So if he does the same thing, so he played against Justin Jefferson, shut these guys down, did all of it. So he has one of the.
He didn't play against Justin Jefferson this year. You guys didn't play the Vikings.
Okay. Well, you know better. I thought they went against that. But again, every receiver he went against, he shut him down. So if he shuts down Samuel, then all they've got is Ayuk. Well, Ayuk's going against a Pro Bowler in Trent McDuffie. So the Chiefs' corners are pretty ridiculously wow. So that's the thing it's ridiculous. So if we can take Deebo Samuel and Ayuk out, which we have done many times because the Chiefs have never given up over 27 points this whole season. So we have the ability to stop. I mean, the Ravens offense is pretty wow, and they only got 10. Now, again, that's because the defense stopped them twice in the end zone. The Bills game, we made horrible mistakes. And the Ravens game, we gave up, we had 3 drives go into the 20, and then due to fouls, we dropped back out. But if those fouls don't happen, we score. So then, like Caleb said, well, that's 21 more points. Well, that's dominating. Then in the Bills game, we had the same thing. We had 4 offensive drives get completely stopped because of offensive, offsides, which we were. We jumped offsides. We did. It's 100% valid. So the funniest thing is the Chiefs have not played their best football by any means whatsoever, like in any way. So if we step up and do that, I mean, it would be ridiculous. No one knows what we could do because we've never done it this season. But the defense has been wild. So
here's why they're playing dominant football, Pinky. Everybody wants to consider dominant football meaning you're blowing the other team out. And that is just simply not true. That's just not necessarily always going to be the definition of dominance. The Chiefs have finally figured out who they are this season, which is what I've been calling for the whole time, which is you recognize Rashee Rice as your number one and you feed him the ball. You recognize that your run game is what's going to open up a lot of the offense for Travis Kelce. So you run the ball with Pacheco. Travis Kelce.
We did play the Vikings.
I got your back, Andy, because we're coming to another point as far as wide receivers.
My bad. Sorry.
You're good. Travis Kelce then becomes open and is able to do what Travis Kelce does best, which is not necessarily running routes, but it's operating on the same mind wave as Patrick Mahomes when the play has to be improvised and finding space where nobody else would. When you have a dominant number one receiver, which is what Rashee Rice has been over the last 4 to 5 weeks, from the end of the regular season through the playoffs. If you have a dominant quarterback who knows he doesn't have to be the end-all, be-all, kind of like what Josh Allen feels like he's always forced to do, but you can play within the system, that is a dominance. When you can run the ball on teams at 4+ yards a clip, that is dominance. When your defense is not allowing over 21 points a game, that is dominance. So while you're not blowing out the other team, who were those other teams that they played? They played the Dolphins, which many people had as a Super Bowl contender come the start of the season, with arguably the best wide receiver duo in the league. You played the Bills, who were the number 2 seed in the AFC, who a lot of people had as a Super Bowl contender at the beginning of the season. You played the Baltimore Ravens, the number 1 seed in the AFC, who many people thought were Super Bowl favorites starting in the playoffs. You played all 3 of those teams on the road, and you played a style of football which you have proven you're willing to change what you usually do to do what you believe you need to do for this current roster to win. All of those things put together show dominance.
None of that is dominance. None of that is dominance. They won the game. Absolutely.
You're simply wrong. I'm sorry, but you're simply wrong. You don't have blow another team out to be dominant.
They dominated the Dolphins, but if that game's in regular weather, they maybe don't dominate the Dolphins in that case.
I don't want to hear that bullshit.
I don't want to hear it. A team that plays normally in the 70s.
I don't want to hear it. There are plenty of examples throughout NFL history.
Against the Bills, they had to make a kick against a field goal. Come on, bro. That's not domination.
That's the second best team in the conference.
That's not domination. That's just doing to win the game. That's not domination.
You're single-minded here, my guy. You're being single-minded and thinking dominance means score. That's what you're doing, and that's simply not the case.
It didn't dominate the game. If the kicker makes the field goal, they win the game. How's that domination? We're not even talking about them if he makes that field goal. That's not domination.
They control that game.
Is completely different.
No, it's not. They controlled that game. You would say a UFC fighter dominated. You would say a UFC fighter dominated the match if he just held a guy down the whole time and didn't allow him to do anything.
Hate that shit. You should know that by now.
I don't care if you hate it. He dominated the outcome of the match. Pinky, you need to broaden your horizons on what domination means, my guy. It's not just
domination. It's not winning. it's not. That's a whole different ball game. Winning the game,
and I just broke it down to you how it's not just about the win. I literally just broke it down to you how it's not just about the win.
Moving on, Robert. I'm done.
Dude.
I'm gonna just start spitting off shit to Caleb, and we don't want to do that. So
Pinky.
So, all right, Andy, what are your thoughts on how the 49ers can win?
Well, I think if the 49ers dominate with the run game, which the Bills did at first, and then they pulled away from, which don't know why, that would be insane. But again, the Chiefs have the ability to start attacking that stuff. So that's a great quote, Billy.
Just vibing.
So that's the thing. Just like that's the fun of this, right? Before the game, we can look at it any way. The chess match of thinking is fun, right? What can win? Because again, the 49ers could dominate the game. We're like, shit, man, the Chiefs fumbled twice and this happened. Oh my God. Or the 49ers fumbled twice. CMC's been nicked up, so he's not playing 100%. Right. So CMC gets hit hard and he goes out. Or there's a late hit that didn't get called. I mean, that's the fun of this is you got to play the game. We can't just look at the teams before the game. And that's what J.J. Watt was saying. He's like, if you look at every game just from the standpoint of who's good, who's not, you'll never know who's going to win, because that's the whole point of it is the teams that look like they're going to be shit. And then at the end of the season, we're like, oh, my God, no one thought the Texans would be so good.
Oh my
and
gosh,
look so great for the future. And that's the fun of this is, we create these storylines, which is the fun. But the coolest part is watching the game unfold again. Let's say Mahomes pulls an Aaron Rodgers, 4 plays in, he's out. Well, then everybody's like, oh, worst Super Bowl ever. This is the most horrible crap of all time. Let's say Purdy gets hurt. Then everybody's like, oh, the 49ers never had a chance. I mean, but we've seen that happen.
They'll be fine. Darnold's their backup. They're good.
Yeah, no, exactly. They're good. And he should have been number 1. But that's the fun of it, right? We just don't know what's going to happen. So one injury, CMC gets hurt. Oh, well, then they had to lean on the pass game too strong. The Chiefs defense was one-dimensional and able to stop them. So we just don't know.
You're right. And it's funny because I talk about all these things the Chiefs needed to do to start winning, and they did them, and they're winning, but there's still a a recipe that you kind of have to follow for the Chiefs, it feels like.
Yeah.
The 49ers, I don't feel that way at all. I feel like their recipe can be 8,000 different ways and they can still get the same outcome. The problem is I think with San Francisco, which I feel like they haven't been able to do against good teams all year, they have to avoid making mistakes.
Yeah.
And it sounds so simple, but I truly feel like even if one bad throw from Purdy, which he's gotten away with so far in the playoffs, I feel like if he does that against the Chiefs, they're going to capitalize. That's just where I'm feeling at this point in time. And that's why I'm leaning towards the Chiefs, because I feel like as much as I wouldn't mind San Francisco winning, and I love the team and the coach and everything about them, and why my heart originally went that way, I feel like they're going to make that one bad throw or that one bad play, and the Chiefs will capitalize, which is what they've been doing all postseason to make sure they're winning. Which, again, Pinky, you're going to get mad, which is why I feel like there is a level of dominance to what they've been doing throughout the playoffs. When you don't beat yourself and you're capitalizing,
really winning is dominance. I get it.
I get it. What else would you call it, though? I mean, honestly, what else would you call a team that plays within themselves, doesn't make mistakes, and capitalizes on others? I don't have another word for what that is other than it's a level of dominance.
They're winning.
You guys want to hear?
So next year when we do games,
yeah, Andy.
Every time we go through the list, I'm like, well, this team won, so they were dominant. This
that
team
is not
won,
what
they
I'm
were
saying,
dominant.
dude. That you can't.
That's what you're saying.
That.
They're not dominant.
Damn, kid.
Here's something fun to get it to twist. If you guys want to talk about like a nerd perspective, like you're talking about the two tight ends with the Ravens, if the 49ers, I thought, really wanted to mess with the Chiefs, you would put Nick Bosa over Juwan Taylor with Chase Young outside of him.
Absolutely.
And if you get Juwan Taylor having to jump early to try and get to Chase because the guard now has to pull over to get Nick Bosa, and Nick Bosa's going to dominate the guard, even though it is Trey Smith, who's pretty damn good, Juwan Taylor's going to be jumping like a mofo. And there's no way.
Trey's good in the phone booth, though.
But
Andy,
really at that point, wouldn't Andy Reid just throw?
Oh, I know, but Nick Bosa hits the outside of the guard as he's step down. And
but at that point, wouldn't Andy Reid just run two tight end sets with Kelsey on the opposite side and letting Noah Gray sit there and chip with Jawan Johnson on Bosa? I mean, that feels like something Andy Reid would have just.
They don't do that.
But you would have to adopt. Caleb's right. You would have to put a running back over there to shift the pocket. So, CEH, let's say, undercuts, one of them gets out. But Juwan Taylor mentally breaks down in games. So, like, when he jumps off sides, homie jumps off quite often. So, again, if I was the 49ers, again, this is just the coach of me always trying to think both ways because that's how you get better. How do you beat your team? How do you make your team better?
I mean, Nick Bosa is always playing over the right tackle anyways, so that wouldn't be anything new for him.
Correct.
It just happens to be the
Chase
optimal matchup at his natural position within this game. So
Yep.
that's why I personally believe they're going to start off running more two tight end sets than they ever have. And I think you're going to see a lot of Noah Gray on that line opposite Kelsey.
Yep.
I just personally envision that already. So if I'm already thinking that, I feel like it's a no-brainer that Andy Reid would be thinking that.
I hope so. But, I mean, like, the 49ers have such defensive talent that it's really interesting how you can move pieces on the board to mess with the Chiefs. And that's the fun of it, right? Like that game. And I love
the chess match in football is when you get two people who are good at what they do, not a Ben Johnson second half or a McLaughlin in the entire Baltimore Ravens game. Like when you get two guys who are focused from start to finish, which I believe a Shanahan and a Reid are going to be.
Oh yeah.
Then it becomes. I'm drawing a blank. San Francisco's defensive coordinator. Why am I drawing a blank?
Pinky knows it.
Steve Wilks.
Thank you, Wilks.
Yeah.
I had him in my head. I couldn't think of his name. Former Arizona Cardinal who got screwed, got a 1-year deal and bounced through no fault of his own. Wilks versus Spagnuolo, I think, then really becomes your chess match.
Yeah.
And how those two defensive coordinators call the game versus the opposing offenses. To me, is going to be what I'm looking for right away.
Yeah. A lot. And that's the fun of it. So that's where it's like the preemptive guessing. It's like going to a bar and deciding which girl's going to go home with you before you've even walked in. You don't even know. Like, but that's the fun of it, right? Like, oh, the blonde will, the brunette, like, the girl.
Yeah. Well,
like, you're just guessing. You're just
me being the aggressive that I always am. And I'm always fourth down, go for two defensively.
You're picking apart.
I would be very high percentage of bringing 5. like at a minimum, I would be very high percentage of bringing 5 and making those quarterbacks do something that is uncomfortable on a regular basis.
Correct. And that's the fun of it, right? When you put Mahomes in this situation, what is he going to do?
Throw it left-handed and make you really mad.
Exactly. Or he does these crazy, or he throws it over his shoulder. You just see these crazy things, but that's the fun of it, right?
But Purdy's done some of the similar things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the off platform when he needs to, and I think he did something that most people who didn't watch him in college didn't realize he was capable of, which is the Duke can scramble about as well as an Aaron Rodgers. If I'm trying to make a comparison. And Rodgers can get outside the pocket just fine when he needs to. He just chooses not to, which I think is what Purdy did all season. And that last game in the NFC Championship, he showed you, well, you know what? If you're going to make me run, you're going to regret it.
Correct. So that's what I'm saying. I'm excited for it. I do think it's a game that, as long as there's no major injuries, which I pray to God there's not, because I hate when you beat a team because of injury. It sucks so bad. You don't know if you won. And again, that's like the coach and me, like, you want to beat a team at their best, so you know you're best. Like, that's the one thing I always tip my hat to the Broncos. You beat the Patriots at their best. D4 jumped off sides, we lost. But, like, Broncos won. You fought a dynasty when it was at its strongest and you took them out. That's a great feeling. You should always feel good about that, because anytime someone's like, oh, we're the best, it's like, well, why didn't you win that one? We can't say that. So that's, again, where I'll give tips. And again, everybody's like, oh, the Chiefs are so dominant in the AFC West. I didn't know this until the other day. So the Chiefs have won the AFC West 16 times. The Raiders, 15. Chargers, 15. Broncos, 15. We just got one ahead of everyone else. So we haven't dominated as a franchise by any means whatsoever. We just now pulled ahead one.
Just to loop back around real quick, in my comment of the AFC West has always been one good rest bad. I'm just saying, if
when the Chargers dominate, Pete and I laughed all the time because we're like, "Fuck the Chargers, because the Chargers spanked us. LaDainian Tomlinson. It was
people are forgetting also the Dan Fouts and how good he actually was, and your Allworth and your original Kellen Winslow. They had some actually really good talent on the Chargers back in the day that just
Allworth wasn't on that team, by the way.
What?
Allworth was in the 60s. He wasn't on the 80s Fouts team, just so you know.
I'm not saying my bad. Clarify. I wasn't saying he was on that team. I'm just saying the Chargers have had talent over the years that just never, all the way up to Phillip Rivers and LT is what I was trying to get to, is they've had talent on their teams that just for whatever reason never got over those humps.
Their ownership sucks.
Well, it does now. It hasn't always been the Spanos. So it hasn't always been just terrible ownership. Sometimes it's just bad luck, unfortunately.
Chargers luck when they played the Bengals a week after they played in like really crazy humidity in Miami, and then they had to go play in one of the coldest games of all time in Cincinnati. That's pretty bad luck. You are correct.
Finally, cheers, my guy.
Hey, peace. Yay. Give love a chance. I was going to say, when Pinky was right on that smile on his face, it only made me think he's going to go and try and have sex with Hannah. He's going to walk away from this. He's like, I got my win. I'm going to go take it to the gym. I'm buying a lottery ticket, and I'm having sex with my wife, and I'm going to Vegas tomorrow.
Pinky's going to be just fine for the next couple of days. Let's leave it at that.
He's going to be in good hands.
Look at that smile on his face. He's got
Pinky's too many drinks in and too happy about the situation to even respond. Just keep your mouth shut, Pinky.
I wanted to say, I was like, Robert, we work for USAA, not Allstate, baby. Like you're.
Yeah. I think
you're doing the wrong jingle.
He's even going to strip. I think Pinky tonight is going to bring out the strip moves. He's like, Hannah, get in that bed.
She's already there, bro. She's already there.
Pinky with the slow wine. Is that what we're trying to put into people's minds? A little slow wine from Pinky.
Well, you've seen that, the old school Patrick Swayze,
Lean
Chris
back.
Farley.
Lean back.
It can happen.
Oh my god!
You guys should do that for the Sports Nonsense and Whiskey. Have the two of you reenact that. I'm just saying, there's gold here, guys. Like, I'm just.
Yeah, triple X gold, which we're not trying to go towards.
You just put that blur bar on there and you have as much fun with it as you want, man. It's all good.
I don't think that's how it works, Andy. I think that's once you go down that road, there is no coming back from.
Well, dude, if you get the views. Because everybody like, you remember that sports nonsense and whiskey where they flashed their penises and got canceled? Greatest show ever. Just fucking great.
Those dudes weren't even making money and they did it. Go figure.
They did it because they could.
Pinky's like, I got likes.
For the love of the game. That's what those guys were about.
So, yeah. So, 49ers Chiefs will be good.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right, well, let's finish it up here by doing this. Just to clarify, to see who's eating crow come next Tuesday. Pinky, 49ers. Robert.
Yes.
Chiefs.
Andy.
Chiefs. Yeah.
Chiefs. So
I hate to say it, Pinky, but it's true.
No,
basically this comes down to either Caleb eating crow or Pinky saying, yep, the Chiefs won, and then just moving on and never an admission of anything.
Well, I mean, according to you, the Chiefs will dominate, but they'll probably win by a field goal.
Well, Pinky, you just guessed they're only going to get 11 points. So I think the Chiefs can beat 11.
14-11. 14-11.
What an epic Super Bowl win. Andy, I'm looking forward to it on Sunday, bro.
Oh, hell yeah. Look forward to hanging out with you, Robert. We'll be chilling.
Yeah, man.
Are you getting the kids early, Andy? Plan for that.
I will ask the ex. I don't know yet. That's another fingers crossed situation, but it should be. Yeah, because I'm going to be able to enjoy. So she was cool last time, so I can't say nothing bad. So fingers crossed. But yeah, I need to do that. But I just want to see your face right there. That smile, dude. That like it will be missed. Even Junior said he was going to try to swing by in the Super Bowl. So I was like, oh, hell yeah, I haven't seen Junior in a minute. So it will be good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to all of it. Caleb, you got Super Bowl plans? You going to have a good one?
Yeah, we got people coming over here, so I don't have to mess up the baby's routine, which will allow me to actually enjoy the game.
That's pretty cool. Rub a little whiskey on his gums, the old school. He goes to sleep, and you're like, "Love my son."
No, that will. Nah, if I had a decision, yeah, I'd probably still be rolling. I mean, it worked for me, so
yeah, I know, exactly. I know.
There might be a reason we have whiskey in our name. I'm just saying, but I still turned out all right. So I'm just, you know. And I'd be giving them the good stuff. Like, I got the McCormick's equivalent. My game stepped up, so my kids would get the good stuff even. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like.
Yeah. That corn whiskey you guys were talking about seemed really cool when you came back with that. I thought that was pretty sweet.
Flyover whiskey.
I'm gonna try to get another batch of that eventually, but he's got like a year wait list now with everything going on. So eventually we'll. But the cool thing was that was corn from my land. So
yeah,
it's about getting with the right timing of the crop and you know, the harvest to do it right again. I don't just want to toss anything his way. I want it coming from the right place. So eventually it'll get done again for sure.
Heck yeah.
Final thoughts, gentlemen. Pinky.
49ers are going to dominate.
He jinxed it. He ruined it.
Robert.
Actually, one last thing I do want to mention for a final thought is, gentlemen, we lost a wonderful man today, Toby Keith. So, I mean,
Toby Keith died?
Toby Keith died today, bro. Yep, stomach cancer.
What?
My wife was a big fan. I am indifferent.
So, yeah, you might want double check it, Pinky, if you want. But yeah, so
I mean, I believe you. I just didn't see. I don't.
Pinky's like, I totally believe you. You're so right,
gotta
Robert.
double check this. Yeah. So that's really it. But looking forward to hanging with the boys here for Sunday. Pinky, we'll miss you, but you know you won't even be thinking about us. Let's be real.
Yeah. Pinky's got to be reenacted.
He was 62 years old.
Yep.
62.
Damn, this is a mother.
Carl Weathers, man, Apollo. He passed away too. I forgot about that. Man.
Dropped.
Terrible weekend. But you know.
Last thoughts, just good game. I don't want anyone getting hurt. I don't want any BS calls. I just want to see the best team play the game. And whoever it is, I don't mind. I just want to see the best game we can. And that'd be awesome, right? Like, that's it. I don't want another Bucs game where we just get smashed and Mahomes sets a record for negative yards. Like, I just want to see Chiefs at their best, play their best game yet. 49ers play their best game yet. So as football nerds, we can just wow at this game. That's all I want. Like, and whatever happens, happens. But that's all I want every game. Like, I don't want a team to play shitty. I don't want to get bad. I don't want injuries. I don't want any of that stuff. I don't want late hits. I just want, let's just do it. Let's go all out brawl, fisticuffs, and see who comes away with the win. That's it. That's all I want.
I love it. I love it.
Like it.
In the famous words of George Bush, dominant Surrey. That's what we're going with here. If you don't understand that joke, then I feel sorry for you. No, but really, I've actually with Andy, I just really would love to see one of those Super Bowls that goes down on that list that people are talking about of one of the greatest games that you've seen in the biggest stage. Both teams play up to their level. Whether there's turnovers or not, that's not saying both teams didn't play really well. It's just the way in which they occur. I want them to be able to say that both teams were playing at their best. And yeah, there was a turnover, but it's because the defense was so great. Yeah, the other team won, but it's because both teams went at it back and forth, and it just happened to be who had the ball last kind of thing. So that's what I would love to see, because unfortunately the Super Bowl very rarely, I feel like, actually lives up to the hype. And we've been lucky enough to have some really good games recently. That hasn't always been the case. So I hope that trend continues, and we get to watch something that goes down in the annals as one of those games that you're like, damn, you should have been there to see that. On that note, boys, look, you can say what you want about Pinky and I, but we love each other. We're always going to do this. I'm always going to poke the bear. I'm always going to say something that riles the guy up. So cheers to all of you guys for putting up with me. Cheers to the people who continue to support us for no good reason other than you find us entertaining and thoughtful and knowledgeable. Hopefully it's some combination of those things. And as always, look, there's a big Sunday coming up that is a perfect opportunity to not waste those moments with your loved ones, family, friends, inner circle. Take advantage of those moments. Appreciate everyone. Cheers.
Of course.
We're out.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come